What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new season and new episode of Flip the M podcast, sponsored by PrizePicks. Be sure to use the code FIVE, that's FIVE, to match up to $100 on your first deposit. Now, it's been a minute. It's been a long, slow, boring offseason, but we're still here with you. Alongside me, I have Josean and I have Aidan right here. Rest of the crew couldn't make it tonight, but we're still equally happy to be talking about Marlins baseball again because it has been a boring off season, which I feel is like the understatement of the century. Aidan, take over. What? Nothing happened this offseason. Like,
No, I mean, yeah, there's obviously going to be moves made with every MLB team, but like nothing really stood out to me. You make some minor deals with like some veteran guys like Trey Mancini or like Nick Gordon, but I mean, nothing really splashed out to me besides, I guess, today with the Tim Anderson signing. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. I would say I kind of expected this because you got a new front office, new GM and Peter Bendix, but I mean it's been a little, I don't know, a little disappointing. But I think the Marlins will, I don't know, I think they'll be fine, despite not making like these major moves.
yeah, I mean, you look at the team from last year, and you now get a full season of Josh Bell. You get a full season of Jake Berger. Now you have Tim Anderson at short, which we'll get into in a little bit. Um, you now get rid of Jacob Stallings, who last year was statistically the worst catcher in baseball in every facet of the game. Could not hit, could not defend, which we all knew he couldn't really hit all that well, but the defense just fell off a cliff, which is what we got him for. So we went and got Christian Bethancourt out from Cleveland. I believe he went from Tampa to Cleveland and then to us. He got DFA'd again over to us. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but you know, you look at the team and you look at you have a loss of Sandy Alcantara for the year, which he's not only your ace but he's your captain, and then you look and you have the loss of Jorge Soler, who led the Marlins by far in home runs, and so now you're sitting here and you're like, man, we lost our DH who supplied most of our offense. We lost our ace who, even if they weren't great innings, he still, in the words of Foolish Baseball, was a Chad's inning eater. At the beginning of the season, he definitely picked it up at the end. But you just look to fill those holes. But then you kind of take a step back, and the common phrase right now is that you're getting that full season of Berger and you're getting that full season of Bell, getting the full season of Tim. But you look at who they replaced coming into last season, where in the beginning of the season we were really, really hot. They replaced Gene Segura, who ended up getting traded and DFA'd by Cleveland. You lose Garrett Cooper, who got traded over to San Diego and still hasn't signed a major league deal yet. I don't even know if he's going to get a major league deal this season. And then at shortstop, you had Joey Wendell, who granted was one of the first free agents off the board somehow over in New York. I don't know what that desire was to get him immediately off the board, but he's out there in New York now. But you replace it with who you have, who you'll have the full seasons from, and it's kind of manageable. And you look at it also with a hopefully full healthy season from Yuri Perez. You look at it with a full healthy season from Trevor Rogers. You look at it with a whole healthy season of Jesus Luzardo, Braxton Garrett. There's pieces that fill the holes, and they might not, fill the holes completely to where it completely replaces the production, but it is sufficient enough. And the one thing that I do have to applaud Bendix on in his first year in Miami is kind of what you were touching on, Aidan, is they created a lot of depth this offseason. Last season we saw everyday at bats from Garrett Hampson, who was phenomenal when he played for us, but it's Garrett Hampson. We saw everyday at bats from Jonathan Davis, who's still with us on a minor league deal right now. We saw everyday at bats from Dane Myers, who's still with us. But now you look at it and you get, not that it's any much better, but now we have Avisail Garcia there. That's that is what it is. He's there, but he's healthy, which he wasn't last season. And then you get everyday at bats, or not everyday bats, but you have the depth of Nick Gordon or Vidal Brujan, or who am I blanking on? John Birdie, obviously. Who's our other Xavier Edwards X?
Xavier Edwards.
Yeah, I completely went on my mind for a second, but we might have lower everyday stats or players, but we have higher depth. And so if somebody goes down with an injury that God forbid takes a long time to recover from, we're not as shot in the foot with it as we were in the past, which is somewhere great. And it's really weird going into an offseason and being okay with our bullpen for once. Like, we didn't have to sign anybody. We didn't have to trade for anybody. We had a fully ready to go bullpen, and that's new for me as a Marlins fan. I don't think I've seen that in my lifetime.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, I mean, you would figure maybe GM with Bendick's background that he would try to get rid of some of the relievers that we have. Like Tanner Scott, for example, who's coming off a phenomenal career year for him. He was pretty inconsistent to begin his career, so you don't know if this is sustainable. But hopefully he could build on 2023 coming into the season, and especially since the Marlins decided to keep him instead of trading, at least as of now. It's pretty interesting, like you said. I mean, every year we figure that the bullpen is the thing to address, as well as the offense, I would say. But this year, not so much. And we have minor league relievers that could come in and also produce, like Anthony Maldonado or Josh Simpson. Those two guys are guys that everybody's looking. Last year was Nardi. So, I mean, at least in the reliever category, the Marlins are pretty set.
And I think our only losses, or I don't know, major losses were like David Robertson, Steven Okert. I know Robertson wasn't like nearly as effective for us as he was like with the Mets, but like not a ton of losses from our bullpen. And I think that's what I'm the most excited about. And hopefully they could be consistent. And I think we're getting like Anthony Bender's coming back this year, right? He was hurt last year, and I remember watching him pitch. I was like, damn, this guy has some nasty stuff. Because like I remember the way the ball just runs out of his hand is just, I don't know, it's something that caught my eye. And yeah, hopefully Tanner Scott could continue to be productive. And I'm just, not a lot of change from the bullpen, which is good.
Yeah, it's weird going into it a little further, where a lot of the players who in past seasons would have guaranteed spots, they don't really have guaranteed spots this year because the bullpen's so full. With the emergence of George Soriano, with the emergence of Andrew Nardi, with Anthony Bender coming back, you look at people who are on the fringe, not to say JT Chagoua's on the fringe, but he's one of the lower quality relievers that we have. Huascar Brazoban, I know how I feel about him. I'm not the biggest Brazoban believer, but he's in the past couple of years has had almost a guaranteed role out there, and now not only are they fighting for their spot because there's so many of them, but people like Josean mentioned, Anthony Maldonado or Josh Simpson, or if I can say his name, Sixto Sanchez, are fighting for that final spot. Whether or not those are realistic for Simpson or Maldonado or Sixto to make it with the major league team out of the spring training, it's nothing that's guaranteed for these lower end bullpen relievers that we have, which is really unique. I'm not going to go into my Sixto rant. If you guys want to hear it, it's on YouTube. It's with 5 Reasons on YouTube. I got a little sidetracked. I got a little emotional in that one, but
everybody should check it out.
A little bit.
But yeah, I got a little emotional, a little sidetracked on that. I know it when I recorded. I was like, man, but I'm a pit post anyway. But no, I mean it's so wild, and I think we were talking about it earlier with Kevin, where it's even out of our bullpen, going to our offense. There's so many players who in other years would have almost guaranteed roster spots, but with there being, now 4 utility men in Bruhan and Birdie and X and Gordon, where do you make them fit? Last year we had Birdie as our utility, and then injuries came up and Hampson came up and became a utility. But now we have 4 of them ready to go right there. And so it's really unique. It's really, really interesting. But moving a little forward, we had just signed Tim Anderson today, which is something that, he's been linked to the Marlins for a while, or been wanted by Marlins fans for a while as well. And he's finally a part of the team. He's finally in Miami. Had a really, really rough season last year. I think he was a -2 WAR last year. But he's not far removed from being an all-star, from being a batting champ. And you have to wonder if with this full season of health, with him having a healthy clubhouse, with him having great leadership, both by players and by managers, and by being with arguably one of the better hitting coaches in John Mabry, is that going to get him back to where he was? Is his defense ever going to recover? Is his offense going to, falter like it has been? Is he going to be back to, 300 with 10 plus homers? I don't know. Josean, what's your take on this Tim Anderson signing?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I love it. He did struggle last year. It was a tough year for him, both on the field and off the field. A lot of things could have affected his play. He was also playing injured. It was just a lot going on for him. Everybody knows of the clubhouse drama that Chicago went through last year. So I just think a change of scenery, fresh faces, new relationships with people, I think all of that would definitely benefit him for the better. And just overall fit. I mean, he comes in, he knows he has an everyday role. And even in a year that he had a down year overall, he still mashed the lefties, and that's something that the Marlins desperately need, is just somebody who can hit lefty pitchers. So I just think the overall fit is great. He gets along with Jazz. He gets along with Jake Berger, old teammate. It's just a great fit. And worst case scenario, it is just a 1-year deal. You can just always cut your losses, always move on. You don't need to worry about it. Because honestly, 1-year deals are in the past for the Marlins haven't necessarily worked out. So if you look at the franchise history, maybe not the best, but if you look at the player, especially if you get that 2018 through 21 Tim Anderson, who's going to hit for 750 OPS, right? Is going to hit 300. That type of player, I mean, like drastically increases the Marlins' chances to make another playoff push. So I'm all for the signing. I love it, and it's a good number. I know that there was some discussions back and forth from both parties in terms of the number, the years, but overall, I mean, it was a great compromise, and I do believe that he's going to come in and he's going to produce just because the change of scenery.
Aidan, what are your thoughts on that?
No, yeah, I love the move also, and I think most of the fan base does as well. I think it was smart, like Josean was mentioning, the 1-year deal. Kind of like the Marlins are kind of being cautious because they don't know which player they'll get out of Tim Anderson, whether it's the one who had a down year last year or the one who was batting 300 for what seemed like 5 years in a row before that. Like multiple all-star. But yeah, it's kind of like a low risk, high reward situation for the Marlins. I think he's definitely a veteran. 30 years old now. But I think he'll have a great presence in the clubhouse, and I think he'll be able to teach some of the younger guys, some of the things that he's learned when he was like in the majors.
Yeah, he's going to be a great addition to the team. Great addition to the clubhouse. I think the Marlins are going to lead the league in the new baseball savant stat, X swag, the expected swag in the clubhouse. With him, Gordon, and Jazz, they're going to lead that. Which at least we're winning somewhere. But no, as I said earlier, I think he's a great addition to the team. I don't think there's a such thing as bad 1-year deals. If it's so bad, you can just ship him off as a at the deadline for cash relief, or at the end of the year, he's off the books. You don't have to worry about it. Personally, I would have loved to have had a mutual or a club option on this, on the off chance that he does perform. We can kind of secure him in Miami for a little bit longer. But if he didn't, it doesn't matter. But I do know that there was a couple other stirrings for the Marlins with different potential signings, and I know that Josean knows a little bit more than me about this. Josean, I'll go ahead and give you the floor on that.
Yeah, I mean, well, another signing that happened today, another domino that fell, is Gio Urshela. The Marlins were definitely in discussions with him, just gauging to see what would happen. I know some people are disappointed that he didn't sign here, but I think the Marlins' point of view is that they were going to sign him to be like a utility type of guy to play all around the infield. And signing Tim Anderson, who's locked in already at a position, I think that they just decided that to go in a different direction because they may not necessarily be done. And I'm not saying that they're going to go out and sign Cody Bellinger or anything, but I mean, maybe another bat is definitely an option. So the whole Gio Urshela, it was just more about fit, especially because they love John Birdie. He can play anywhere. They want to see what they have in Xavier, and they like Bruhan. So it's more just about we have a lot of guys that do more or less a lot of the same things at the moment. So they didn't want to add an extra person. And then they are looking at the starting pitcher depth area. They did just sign Vladimir Gutierrez, who signed about 30 minutes ago, a minor league deal. That is something that they had been looking to the last couple of weeks. I know that Jake Odorizzi was a name as well. It could be that they're maybe pivoting from that at this point since they've already signed Gutierrez. And in terms of bat, I mean, everybody knows that if the Marlins go out and sign one more bat, they might be a great pick, a great sleeper pick to make the playoffs. At this point, they're hovering around 78 to 80 wins, which is a topic we'll get into later. But I think with one more productive hitter, it drastically extends the lineup. It creates like insane depth. So, and they're aware of this. So I think that something could still happen down the road, definitely, from what I'm hearing.
Do any of you guys know who like the best available hitters are besides Cody Bellinger and the guys?
So definitely, I mean, everybody on Twitter loves JD Martinez. I don't know how realistic that is. I know that they like him. They've entertained it, but I mean, Robbie Grossman definitely is somebody who would to say it would be realistic. If I'm not gonna say too much, but I mean, Robbie Grossman or JD Martinez, somebody who can DH is what you would look for.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they lost Soler, so and they think that Berger could play a great third base. They just signed the shortstop. Rise is locked in at second, and Bell's locked in at first. So it's more of maybe seeing somebody who could DH. So JD Martinez, Robbie Grossman, those type of players will probably be an impact type of signing that they can make and help them push. And I know that they are aware, they are looking, they are speaking. There's nothing imminent at the moment, but yeah, the market moves like you know how the MLB free agent market is. So
yeah,
I do want to add to that just because Grossman has been someone that has been also in the name of a lot of Marlins fans this offseason because of how he hits left-handed hitting, which is something Marlins desperately need. He is a career 282 hitter against lefties with an 808 OPS, a 381 on base percentage against lefties, even at 332 against righties with a difference of a 229 average, he just gets on base, which is something that, Miami needs. The more you get on base,
Peter
the more
Bendix
runs you can
loves.
score. What was that?
Peter Bendix is a on base fiend. If you can get
Oh,
on
yeah.
base, he loves that. So
Like the money ball, right?
yeah, no, literally. I mean, if you can get on base, he definitely has his eye on you, which is why I believe Robbie Grossman could definitely be an option. I mean, I have heard his name, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah. But going a little further on something that you touched on in there as well, if you go onto any betting app, Hard Rock, Better, Vegas GM, whatever we have, you will look and you'll see that the line for the Marlins this season is currently placed at 78.5 wins. Now we're going to go one by one and kind of go over what we think, where we would place it, and kind of give like our rationale behind it. So I'll go ahead and start. It's going to be really close, honestly, to all you listening at home. You can ask Josean, you can ask Kevin. Earlier this offseason, the three of us were talking about, where we would place the Marlins on their win total this year. I believe Kevin was at 80. Josean, I think you were at 76. I was like, I'm going to cut that right down the middle and hit 78. So my idea of where the Marlins would be at that 78 win total. But when you look at, the depth that they've added since, because that was at the beginning of the offseason, you look at the depth that they've added since then, you look at the pieces they just signed today at Tim Anderson. Genuinely, I'd place them right around 80, 81 wins. I think we're going to we can make the playoffs if we make a playoff push, with this expanded playoffs. If we make another, deadline deal like we did this past year with Berger and with Bell, there's a possibility there. But I think we're going to hover right around that 80, 81. I would take the over. I wouldn't smash it. I would give it some thought before hitting that. But I think we're definitely going to be right above that line. Aidan, what's your take?
Yeah, it's a coin flip for me, but I'm gonna say over. I think they have a ceiling of 82 wins, but I think it's gonna be around the 80, 82 win mark. But I think it just comes down to starting pitching for me. I mean, if they could be consistent, if we have some guys that could take that step forward, like the Jesus Luzardo or Yuri Perez, if they can make that step forward and kind of build off their success from last season, I think that'll put the Marlins in a prime spot to go over that win mark. But yeah, also if the bullpen could stay healthy, health is a major factor. But if the bullpen could stay healthy, stay consistent, reliable, I think Miami could make a run similar to last season, despite losing Jorge Soler, and trying to make up for his offense that he provided last year. But I think it's going to be around 80. Again, I wouldn't like you said, hammer the over, but it's gonna be, I don't know. I feel good.
Josean, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm taking. I had said 76 before they have made a couple of these most recent moves. That was a couple months ago. I'm going over 78. I do believe that they can hit 78 because there's a lot of everybody knows about the 1 run differential last year and how that's not really sustainable. That might scare people from the 78 win total, but there's a lot of things that are different coming into this year as well. I believe that even though Sandy is not going to pitch this year, the rotation is stronger. I would say Max Meyer is coming back. You have Yuri starting the year. He's most likely going to start the year at the major leagues. I mean, everybody knows he should. I believe that the overall team is just stronger overall than last year's opening day team. So if last year they were like favored at 75, I believe this year they were much better than that. I mean, they were 10 wins over projected last year. So I think that they can at least be 4 to 5 wins better than projected this year as well. So I'll take the 78 over.
One last note before we head out. This is something that we're going to touch on our next episode. And if you guys want to comment on our tweets when we post this tomorrow morning and let us know who your answers are, we're going to be next episode talking about our newcomer of the year, which means either a rookie or a player new to the Marlins Cy Young of the year, and their MVP of the year. So we're going to be going over those three. This isn't relevant, but it's something that I'll talk a little bit more into next episode. But everything that I'm hearing right now, and out of my personal belief too, after having the offseason with him, I think Ryan Weathers is a name to look out for this season. I might be wrong, and y'all can crucify me for this. Y'all can screen cap this, whatever you want to do, post on Twitter. I might be totally wrong, but I think that kid has it. At least has it to be a serviceable starter with us. And he was a first round pick a while back. So full season with Mel. We'll see what Mel can do. See if Mel can resurrect something there. I think he can, but that's again a topic for another day that we'll go into later. But that's all we have for this episode. What was that?
Just to touch on that before we go, I wholeheartedly agree. And if there's any organization that's going to get the most out of him, it would be the Marlins. I mean, this dude was a top 5 prospect just 2 to 3 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I don't believe that he should be written off this quick. The comparison everybody likes to make is Luzardo. So I do believe that he is a sleeper. I mean, and if he can become serviceable, don't mention his name, Sixto Sanchez, continues this positive trend, like through spring training, makes the team. Like the team is strong when it comes to pitching. So the offense just needs to produce a couple of runs per game, and I wholeheartedly believe in the starting pitching in that bullpen, and that can definitely push the team to that north of 80 wins this season, definitely.
For sure. But that is all we have for this episode here. So just stay tuned. We're going to have that the next episode out pretty soon, hopefully in the next couple weeks as spring training comes around. But that's all we got, guys. Until next time.